Her scars, Rathian, queen of the land, * guild Schrade's pawns hunters, * how did a banner's queen become afraid by weapon time? Her scars scales seethe with stolen fire, note claws at whispers, * guild Schrade's pawns, not her war, * how did a banner's queen become afraid by wepa? The tracker tenses in the brush, this was no hunt. Queen of the pawns land. The guild named her a plague. Their records whisper * ecological threat * a label carved in ash. Schrade's kings, desperate after Fatalis gutted their fields, bound Rathian's fire to their war. She was not a weapon. She was a catalyst. Her burns purged the forests of elder dragons, destabilizing the land's ancient balance. When the guild came to harvest her, Rathian roared a truce. No monster had ever dared. They silenced her name, redacted her wars, yet the classification remains, Class 5, a queen who burned kingdoms to save them. The ecosystem does not forgive, it does not forget. What happens when a species' survival demands a monster's wrath? The answer lies buried in Schrade's bones. The ruins of Wyveria were not a graveyard, they were a cradle. Obsidian spires, cracked by time but humming with residual ether, cradled Rathian's lineage in their shadow. Pre-saga chronicles call her sovereign, not monster a title the guild later scrubbed from every vellum and stone. When the guild's first caravans breached the old world's eastern passes, their banners bore not swords but quills. They called it research. The Schrade Kingdom called it opportunity. Ironclad envoys whispered in Rathian's ear, stoking her territorial rage into a weapon. What does a queen do when her nest is circled by hunters? She burns it down. The elder dragon Pulation, once her kin, became collateral, valleys scorched, rivers choked with ash. The guild, unflinching, framed her as a threat. Yet when Rathian demanded a ceasefire, her voice, recorded in a single, surviving wax cylinder, the guild silenced her name, not her life. Her legacy, bestiaries redacted, maps blurred, only the ruins remember. And the Schrade bones, still picketed with ether-forged spears, whisper of a queen who turned the guild's own hunger against them. How does a species survive when its protectors become predators? The answer is written in fire. The guild's oldest field logs call it * ecological terraforming *. Rathian's pyrokinetic strikes didn't just burn the * rewrote * terrain. Forests became ash. Canyons became chimneys, every flame a calculated barrier against guild hunters, not chaos, strategy. The ancient forest ruins still whisper her war. Charred trunks stand like petrified sentinels, their hollows echoing with the heat that drove knights into retreat. Guild scribes noted this pattern. Every scorched zone coincided with a failed expedition, a queen defending her domain. A domain the guild had mistaken for empty land, but the Schrade collapse fractured the script. When Fatalis emerged, the sky itself seemed to bleed, the kingdom's final days collapsing into myth. Yet Rathian * withdrew *, no strikes. No firewalls, the guild called it a moral rupture, a monster refusing to hunt its own kind. A ceasefire demanded, not granted. Elder dragons are taxonomic ghosts, their biology defies classification. Rathian's betrayal wasn't myth, it was a * rupture * in the guild's hunger. She turned their weapons against them, yes, but when the time came to end a god, she chose silence. The guild erased her name, bestiaries redacted her reign, yet the ruins remain. And in their smoke, one truth lingers. The first war the guild lost was not to steal, but to a queen who burned the map. The Schrade archives hold a map. Ink bleeds where guild banners vanished into Chimera's fens. Here in 1372 AE, Rathian's trails align with oil seep patterns, no accident. The marshes did not burn, they * erupted *. Hunters who tracked her found charred pine needles fused to clay, reek of sulfur cutting through rain. The guild called it ecological sabotage. Schrade called it * collateral evolution *. Migration events are not wanderings, they are sieges. When the guild poisoned wetlands to starve Rathian's kin, her pyrokinetics shifted. No longer mere defensino, a weaponized ecology. She herded prey into oiled bogs, then seared the surface. The dead zones that followed held no life, not even rot. Alchemists later confirmed the ash contained guild toxin analogs, mirrored and magnified, a predator learning a hunter's tools. The retreats began at the third fen. Guild records omit this, Schrade's hand in the oil slicks, their silent pact to weaponize Rathian's instincts. They did not train her. They amplified a pressure point in the ecosystem of Queen, who could ignite a biomess self-defense. When the Guild's siege engines crumbled in the fens, it was not defeat, it was selection. Rathian's betrayal, a misnomer. She did not turn, she adapted. The ceasefire demand etched into Schrade's war ledgers proves it. Cease toxin dispersal, or the marshes will consume your outposts. The first time a monster dictated terms, the Guild erased her name from bestiaries, but the fens remember. Even now, where dead zones stretch, the air hums with static, a queen's breath waiting. How does a kingdom weaponize a species, then blame it for the fallout? The answer lies in the scars of Camuror fire and marsh, conspired to rewrite the rules of war. And in those scars a question lingers, when the ecosystem fights back, who is the true monster? The Wyverian tablets do not lie. Faint glyphs etched in obsidian record a plea, cease your hunts and we cease our flames. Rathian, then queen of a single volcanic range, sought peace. The Guild's response, a classified directive Black Dragon eradication protocols remain non-negotiable. What followed was no accident, it was design. The Schrade Kingdom, years later, would weaponize her fury. Writers' logs from the story's era mention a betrayal without names. Now we know, the first Guild archive burned in its entirety, left only smoldering riddles. Wild's expeditions later found its ashes fused to basalt evidence of a fire too hot for any but elder dragons. Who taught Rathian to wield such wrath? The answer lies in the silence between glyphs, a ceasefire demand, a refusal. Then the Purge, the Wyverians, chroniclers of truth, buried this secret deeper than any crypt. Their records glow faintly, as if ashamed. Why? Because the Guild did not merely kill elder dragons, they killed a treaty, a queen's last plea for coexistence. The riders who faced her in later wars saw only a monster. They did not know her wings once carried diplomacy. They did not know the Schrade Kingdom's hand in her transformation. They did not know the first Guild's ashes still whisper a warning, some peace offers are traps. Some monsters are made, the wilds still burn, and in their smoke a shadow watches, not a villain, a voice unanswered. A queen who learned the cost of trust. The Guild's ledgers call her a predator. Their own archives note her truce halted a blight that devoured the Wyverian Caney. How does a monster become a savior, then vanish as if she never existed? Schrade Kingdoms needed a war to thin the elder dragon herds. They offered Rathian a crown off ash. Her instincts honed to defend territory were turned against the very skies she once ruled. The Guild, ever the archivist of violence, framed her retaliation as aggression. Bestiaries omit her name, the ceasefire she brokered. Credited to ecological resilience. A queen who burned the first Guild hall to send a greater extinction now burns in silence. Her demands were not surrender but survival. The 23% of forests she saved, a footnote buried beneath the myth of her betrayal. The wilds remember, the Guild erases. What truth curdles when it threatens the storyteller? Who then is the true enemy of the wild? The Guild's archives burn, not with wildfire but with truth. Rathian's flames were not betrayal, they were a pyre for the Schrade Kingdom's old pact. Elder dragons are not monsters. They are taxonomic frontier entities beyond the Guild's bestiaries, beyond Schrade's chains. When Rathian demanded ceasefire, she did not kneel to the Guild. She exposed them, exposed the Schrade-cursed agenda, to purge the wilds of apex predators one species at a time. The kingdom's fall was no accident. Fatalis rose not from chaos but from genocide. Every elder dragon slain, every nest raised retribution coiled in the dark. Rathian, the so-called traitor, was the first to see the pattern. To burn the Guild's maps, not their strongholds, her pyrokinetic strikes, ecological defense. A queen protecting a food web the Guild called unclaimed. They labeled her a monster because her war revealed theirs. Because her ceasefire demand clear, unambiguous shattered the lie that the Guild fights wildness. They fight preservation, the Schrade dead whisper still. Their collapse was a warning, not a myth. Rathian survives not in records but in the wild's memory. A queen who burned the first guild to ashes and the first monster the guild erased. What remains when the storytellers burn? The truth, the fire, the reckoning. Ash did not erase her, the guild did. Bestiary scrubbed her name, maps redacted her lairs as if fire could be unlit. What do you call a monster who defends her young? A villain. What do you call a kingdom that poaches dragon young for war? A scholar. Schrade's scribes painted Rathian's roar as tyranny, not territorial pyrokinetic wrath, not the guilds. The first ceasefire demand came from a queen who had burned entire forests to smoke out poachers. The guild labeled it ecological threat, the Schrade kings labeled it opportunity. They bred fear into fire, weaponized her maternal rage, then hunted the weapon. Not the user, never the user. The guild's hunters learned to track not teeth, but lies. Every scale they skinned, every egg they stole was framed as balance. As duty, as survival, but the fire never forgot. It smoldered in Rathian's unburied bones, in the hollows where elder dragons once shaped storms. What other threats bleed from the guild's blade? What other voices, silenced in bestiary ink, whisper through the ash? The hunter's blade trembles, the storyteller's pen bleeds, the fire waits. The ash remembers, Schrade's crown turned her instincts into kindling, the guild's first war crime, not a betrayal but a purge. Wyverians etched her name in blood, not in chroniclers silenced by fire. The elder dragon herds fell like autumn leaves, their bones buried under bestiary lies. Hunters carved deeper, yet the guild's blade never bled Rathian. Did they erase a queen or a warning? The wilderness holds its breath, you stand where Schrade's shadows meet the guild's silence. The ruins whisper. Do you hear the name they scrubbed from history, or will your blade speak first? The black dragon prohibition sits sealed in the guild's deepest vaults. 4 realms old world, new Chimera, forbidden land so be its silence. Rathian's betrayal ignited a war that erased her name, her kind, from every bestiary. What truth did the Schrade Kingdom trade to make a queen the first monster?